Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Post Credits Podcast. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Max.
And today I have a fun fact. Did you know that we have not made it one episode without discussing an Alien or Predator movie?
You know, now that I think about it, it actually kind of makes sense.
I mean, in all 3 episodes that we've done, we haven't escaped that franchise.
And I guess mainly Alien. If you talk about the last one that we did,
The last one we talked about Alien, but then the first one we talked about Predator when we discussed Predator Badlands.
yeah, on our most anticipated list.
Right, so it feels kind of fitting for us to go into the territory of franchises here with the Alien Predator franchise.
Yeah, and I guess with the newest release of Predator Killer of Killers, we're going to be doing another tier list, except this time it's going to be with the Alien and Predator franchise.
Yep, combined as one whole entity, because the Alien vs. Predator spin-offs kind of connected those 2 universes, so it felt just most fitting for that to be the case.
Yeah, and especially with 20th Century Studios' new revival with the 2 franchises, I feel like it's about time that the 2 start to come together.
They're both coming into a new era, so why not? This feels like a good time to get the franchise wheel rolling on this podcast.
Yeah, I guess I should go ahead and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Alien franchise started in 1979 after Ridley Scott saw Star Wars. He saw Star Wars.
Oh, really?
And then he made Alien because he wanted to make a sci-fi. It's like his second movie.
Oh, interesting. I feel like his first one. I forgot what his first one was.
The Duelist.
The Duelist. That's right.
A movie I've never seen, so I can't really comment on it. But
I haven't either.
No matter how good it is, it's really impressive that he followed it up with Alien.
Yeah, which that is. Speaking of which, that is the first film we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
It's the first one we released. So, Ridley Scott's Alien. I guess you want to kind of give your thoughts on it first.
Yeah, sure. So the movie is about this crew on a spaceship, and they come into contact with this alien who isn't called the Xenomorph yet, but will be called the Xenomorph later. And essentially, it's on the ship wreaking havoc, and it all kind of comes to a head when they realize that the whole point of that mission was to carry the alien from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Right? But it's also killing people. So it's a little not so great for the crew of that mission. I love this movie.
Guess we're off to a strong start.
A very strong start. It's very rare for me to see a movie more than once because I try to see as many movies as possible,
Yeah.
just to get that kind of variety of movies in there. So I don't tend to watch them more than once. Alien I've watched 3 times, which is...
Yeah, for me, I've watched it twice. It says I'm not too far off.
Yes, I'm winning though.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I guess for me, that's just like one of the great sci-fi horror, if you want to call it that,
Right.
films that I think has ever been made. I think it's just such a unique concept that nowadays has been done before, but when you look back at this movie, so much of it has aged so well.
Oh yeah,
and you kind of
absolutely.
forget that the Xenomorph design was so iconic. It's barely in the movie. Now that you think about it,
right? It's kind of insane because the Xenomorph is one of those things that you don't have to know anything about Alien to recognize.
Yeah, I feel like that, and then also the Predator. I feel like are the 2 most iconic creatures. Two of the most iconic creatures.
I think that's fair. I think Godzilla's probably up there in terms of most iconic, and then the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
but that's also a real thing. So does that really count? I don't know.
Yeah,
but Alien's up there.
Yeah.
100% Alien's up there. It's really, really impressive what they're able to do. Sigourney Weaver, really, really good in that movie.
Yeah, and you also kind of forget she's the side character. She's not the main focus for majority of the movie. And as the crew starts getting picked off one by one, she's the only one.
Right.
She's called the final girl. When people say, "Oh, Alien's not a horror movie," she's technically the final girl in this alien space slasher.
The slashers tropes were canonized about a year earlier with Halloween.
Yeah,
but this follows a weird amount of them. When you don't necessarily notice it when you're watching, but looking back on it, it's like a prototypical slasher movie. It just happens to also be really, really good sci-fi.
Yeah, and another thing I also loved about it, not just the fact that it ages well on a filmmaking technique, but also I loved its practical effect usage.
Yeah,
with the acid going on the styrofoam to see it melting, and then also the chest burster, of course, being iconic. The entire crew, the story of it, the entire crew didn't know what was happening except for that one actor. And so when he actually the chest burster came out of his chest, it was the actual crew's reaction because it was something that hadn't really been done in movies.
It's one of those things that you hear about and you're like, I can't believe that that's true. Because that means that they would have to have shot that incredible scene, probably the magnum opus of the movie that everybody knows, and they shot that in one take.
Yeah, which is crazy. Which is crazy to think about.
It absolutely is, and you know, sometimes you have to wonder if they realize if they're capturing lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
you know? It's really, really, really good, and like yeah, as you said, Ripley, the main character of the movie and the main character of the next 3 movies after this, was a side character, and you don't realize that she's ever gonna be anywhere close to the main character until like an hour or so into the movie.
Yeah, it's really until the xenomorph starts wreaking havoc, which that in and of itself doesn't start for a while. You really kind of follow this crew in outer space, but once that starts taking place, like it just builds so much tension. Right. To this day, I've seen a fair amount of Ridley Scott's movies, but to me, this is the one of his that just absolutely stands out. And 2 more of them we'll be talking about when we get to Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
Yeah, it's true. He came back to the franchise because after Alien, he kind of left for a little bit, which was kind of interesting. It felt like he wasn't really trying to make Alien his franchise. And he did end up reclaiming a lot of his franchises later in his career. Like he took back Gladiator when he made a sequel to Gladiator.
Yeah, most recently even.
Right. And then there were some that like he's not really too involved in, like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Where they're expanding that world and he's not involved in it. But Alien he came back to.
Yeah. I guess really we're starting out strong with this original film. Using an S to F tier list, which I feel like most people would use. I definitely think this is S tier. Among the best of both franchises. Yeah. This is an absolute sci-fi classic. I've seen it twice. I know, Jess, you said you've seen it 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah. I do plan on watching this again just because of how it still strikes me how well this movie ages.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies that if I have the chance to see it, I probably will. And I'm agreeing with you. I'm putting it in S tier, absolutely. It's just so really, really amazing. And the tagline for it, which will be reprised many times in this franchise, is "In space, no one can hear you scream."
Great tagline.
Which is
probably my favorite tagline of any movie.
I think it's legitimately up there. It's what the movie's about, you know?
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies, and I don't like to toss around this word, but it's one of this word. It's one of the movies that I will truly consider timeless.
Yeah.
It's paced like a modern movie. It flows like a modern movie. It acts like a modern movie.
Yeah.
They're not playing around with this concept. They're doing it. Yeah, and it's really, really, really good.
Yeah, it's absolutely one that I feel like is, well, one ahead of its time because it's set in the future, but also in terms of filmmaking techniques, practical effects, which I absolutely love. And everything about it is just like, this movie I think is still a classic to this day, and definitely one of the best of both franchises, if you ask me. Yeah,
and I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't mention H.R. Giger at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Who did the monster designs for this movie. Absolutely great job.
Yeah, for sure.
The Xenomorph we mentioned is one of the most popular monster designs of all time, but I don't think the Facehugger gets enough credit for how terrifying that thing is.
Yeah, that thing is scary because that really leads to the birth of the Xenomorph. It literally sets out to jump on someone's face, implant a chest burster. It pops out of someone's chest. Then it runs around the ship.
And what I think is so cool about it is that for the first 40 minutes of the movie before the chest burster scene, there's reason to believe that the Facehugger is the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's as bad as it gets. And it still works, which is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
You don't find movies that compound upon themselves like that.
Yeah. Any other movie would just come off boring, but this movie, it sets up everything perfectly. Like, it's all paced wonderfully.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, you're getting introduced to this world and these creatures as the characters are getting introduced to this world and these creatures.
Right. I 100% agree. It's really, really good. So how could anything possibly get better than that?
Yeah. So I guess moving on to the next one on the list, I guess in terms of release order is Aliens, which is James Cameron's follow-up to Alien.
Yeah. 7 years later, James Cameron did a sequel, and he's no stranger to doing sequels that he didn't work on the originals for. He didn't direct this, but the year before he wrote Rambo 2.
First Blood Part 2.
Right. So he basically was able to bring something new to the franchise. And James Cameron was a well-established director. He did The Terminator, which was really
Yeah.
his big break.
Both that and the sequel, which people regard the sequel as the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and he hadn't done the sequel yet, so he was just kind of coming into this Alien franchise, which is a sci-fi horror, which he didn't really do with the Terminator.
Yeah, this movie is also more of an action movie. Like,
it is much more of an action movie.
Yeah, for me, like whenever I watch this movie, I actually watched this before I watched Alien because I didn't know it was a sequel.
Okay.
My introduction to this franchise, I was 9 years old and I went to go see a re-release of Top Gun. I saw a poster for Aliens and I was like, that looks cool, but I wasn't allowed to watch it. So then years later during the pandemic, I watched Aliens for the first time without realizing it was a sequel to Alien, which I also watched right after it. And immediately after watching them, I realized there's two types of people who think Alien is better than Aliens and people who are wrong. So yeah, for me, I love Aliens. I think James Cameron bringing a like sci-fi action side to it, really establishing Ripley as the main character of this franchise, which you kind of forget. She was nominated for an Oscar, I think.
Was she really?
I think she was nominated for an Oscar for playing Ripley in this movie.
That's impressive. I mean, she's really good.
Yeah. Like, she just really establishes, like, Ellen Ripley, especially after watching this movie, is probably my favorite female movie character of all time. Or just, like, among one of the best female movie characters of all time.
Best movie character. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just really, really good.
Yeah, and you also get the introduction of Newt here, who's a really cool character. You get Hicks as a side character, who I think is really cool. You get, Paul Reiser in a small role. Like, there's a lot in here that I actually really enjoy. And then you get, like, the final fight with the Queen alien, and you get the classic "Get away from her, you bitch" line.
Yeah, and this movie also introduces for a character that we love in the movies to come, Newt.
Yeah,
the child that Ripley takes care of, that I'm sure will last forever and never die.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, and it's they're trying to add more depth to this Ripley character. And there were two ways to take this series. And one of them was taken by Alien and the other was taken by Predator, which was you essentially create this, the franchise would go on to coin the term quadrilogy of movies focused around this single character, which ended up being Ripley, or you have these somewhat disconnected stories that all take place in the same universe and are tethered together by having the same monster, which is what Predator ended up doing.
Yeah.
And they decided to go for the Ripley route to make Ripley the main character. And at least for this movie, it does really work.
Yeah, and I guess calling this movie Aliens is also a staple to the movie itself, because in the first one, there's really just one xenomorph running around a ship. Here, there is hundreds, if not thousands, of xenomorphs running around.
And it's difficult to pull that off. Because part of the horror of the original Alien is that, as you said, the xenomorph does not appear for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's very barely on screen. And the fact that it became so popular is not only a testament to how good of a design it is, but also probably in part due to Aliens putting a million of them on screen at once.
Yeah, which I feel like if you're going to do a sequel, James Cameron, obviously, he went bigger, he went bolder, he took it in a new genre, pretty much. The first one, I'd say, is more horror. This one, for me, I feel like is more action-oriented.
Yeah.
You really get, like I said, Ripley stepping into the lead. You get a bunch of great, memorable side characters as well. The introduction of Newt, I feel like, was a good... When I first watched the movie, I was a little bit unsure how they were going to use her, but I feel like they used her as kind of like a compliment to Ripley, as someone who woke up from cryo-sleep years later after the events of Alien. I feel like that complimented her really nicely. And by the end of it, it's like she can finally sleep without nightmares now. We'll get into a movie later on about whether that ending stays or not. But
yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the ending, because the ending is one of the most interesting things in all of these Alien movies to me. Because the first movie is standalone. It works as one movie. What do you do when you're trying to make a sequel? Well, what they try to do is have her suffering the consequences of being in such a traumatic situation, which actually works a lot. So they can resolve that storyline and this, and you essentially have one movie that ends satisfactorily, and then another movie that probably ends more satisfactorily than the original.
Yeah.
And we'll get to what we think about the third movie in a couple of movies when we get to Alien 3. But as of right now, what James Cameron has actually done with the franchise is fantastic. I'm in awe.
Yeah, especially for me. For me, in terms of where I'm gonna rank this, I'm also gonna put this up in S tier with Alien. I feel like this is another example. I mean, James Cameron obviously told with Terminator 2: Judgment Day a couple years later, but this is also an example of how to do a sequel right in my mind.
Agreed.
You don't rehash the first one, take it in a new direction that's more interesting, that fleshes out the world a little bit more, even providing a new genre as well. So yeah, for me, like especially like this solidified Ellen Ripley as like a leading character.
Yeah, I agree, and it also set the stage for all these different directors to try their hand at doing an Alien, which unfortunately was a little bit squandered. But we have Ripley's artistic take, and we have Ridley Scott.
Yeah,
we have
Ripley Scott.
Ripley Scott. We have his artistic take in the first one. Now we have James Cameron's artistic take. It's building on itself. It's really, really great. I also love this movie. This is S tier above Alien. Really, really great movie.
Yeah, so far 2 for 2 for at least in terms of this movie so far. So I guess moving on to the next one, we have the first in the Predator franchise.
Yeah,
just simply titled Predator, which is from forget the guy's name who directed it.
John McTiernan.
John McTiernan. He's also the guy who did. I feel like he did.
He did Die Hard. He did Die Hard the year after he did Predator.
Yeah, which is insane.
John McTiernan had just such a series of hits. He did Nomads, which didn't make a huge buzz, but it was enough to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to push for him to direct Predator. Yeah. So then he did Predator, and then he did Die Hard.
And then he also did Die Hard 3, which I also think is also a really good movie in that franchise.
I haven't seen any of the other Die Hard movies, but I hope that they live up to the first one, because the first one's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of the original Predator, it's one that I felt so cool after watching this movie, especially the handshake at the beginning with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. Like that's like this is probably the most manly movie of all time, and you're either gonna love it for that, or you're either gonna be totally like a gaze to what just happened. But for me, like this is a cool story about like a group of mercenaries that go out, and there's a predator that also seems to be hunting them down. Right. And for me, this is a movie that it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's one of those movies that I think about the Predator. I don't think about him immediately, which most of his other movies you remember for being Arnold Schwarzenegger, like The Terminator, you remember for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Here, it's like, I remember this movie as a Predator movie. I don't remember it as an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Right. And it's just kind of, he's a good enough actor to get through the movie while bringing to it something new to allow it to spotlight on the Predator, you know? He's so good that you almost don't need to pay attention to him, which is a weird thing to say. Yeah. About a good performance.
I also loved how his character was utilized. Like, obviously, you know, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a macho man, but, like, his character Dutch, like, he's not stupid. Like, he's immediately questioning the people around him. He's immediately... he's immediately questioning some of the weird occurrences that are going on, which is obviously revealed to be the Predator, itself. And also, like, the final fight with him versus the Predator, like, he doesn't beat him because he can beat him in an arm wrestling match. Yeah. He beats the Predator because he's able to outsmart it, which is something that they've continued to do, especially with the later movies when we get into those. But it all started from here.
Yeah, and I think this is something important that will become very important when we get into some of the newer Predator movies, is that the Predator only sees in heat vision.
Yeah, it's like temperature. Like,
right, so he can see heat. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger outsmarts him by covering himself in mud. Yeah. Which was a trick also employed by Rambo in James Cameron's... Yeah. You know, he penned the script for First Blood Part 2. You know, similar ideas, but, you know, in one it's to outsmart enemy troops, and in this one it's to outsmart a giant monster. So, yeah. You know. But what's interesting is that a lot of these outsmarting the heat-seeking scenes are meant to show off how resourceful and crafty the main protagonists are. Yeah. Which will become changed as we move forward in the franchise.
Yeah. Like, to me, this also has, like, another blend of action as well as even a little bit of horror as well. Mm. So where it's like there's obviously this creature lurking in the shadows just like Alien, yeah. But you also got the action of aliens as well. And this movie, I think, blends those things perfectly together. And you also get... Obviously, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers in the lead. Yeah. But you also sometimes forget Shane Black is a side character in this movie. He plays the character of Hawkins. And not only that, but he also punched up the script a little bit for this movie. And he went on to write the Lethal Weapon movies and direct, you know, obviously The Nice Guys and Iron Man 3. So it seems like he would be a great guy to do the Predator movie, which he does. And we'll talk about that later on when we get to that.
Yeah. This movie also, fun fact here, takes place in the same country as Commando.
Does it really?
Yeah, it takes place in the fictional country of Valverde.
Oh, wow.
Which Arnold Schwarzenegger was also in Commando, so that's interesting.
So I wonder if Commando is also part of this franchise.
Yeah, we should have done Commando. But Yeah, so that's interesting. I also think that the ending scene with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Predator is so good.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's such a unique twist on it that the Predator is clearly smart enough to like it changes the way it fights when it's fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger in that last scene because it takes off all of its armor and just like they start punching each other.
Yeah, because it's like a man-to-man kind of thing.
Yeah,
which like I said, like one of the probably the manliest movie of all time, but like it works so well if you can believe it for that.
And that like getting down onto the level of the opponent theme is something that becomes very big in the later Predator movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly the Shane Black Predator movie. As we will soon discuss.
Yeah, towards the end of this one, we'll discuss whether Shane Black's writing hot streak continues with that movie.
Right.
But it's kind of funny to realize that one of his starts was in this movie, and he also went on to make a Predator movie.
Yeah, and it almost feels like a satirization, like a satire on the manliness, like particularly in Commando.
Yeah,
where it's like. They go back to this Commando place where that movie is just pure. The hero is masculine, the enemy is masculine, everything is masculine in that movie. And then we go back to that same place, and we've got these people who are so macho and so buff and so manly, shooting at the air at nothing. It's really.
I mean, there's a little bit of that in this movie too, because obviously one of the Predator's abilities is to turn invisible.
Right, and there's this really great scene where this guy like sees the Predator, even like when he's invisible, he still has like this weird kind of sheen on him because of how the light hits it.
Yeah,
where, like they can kind of see how the thing behind the Predator is distorted, and he just starts like shooting, and then everybody comes in and starts shooting, and the Predator's not even there. They're just shooting, and they empty like all of their guns before they stop to question what they're actually shooting at.
Yeah, there's so many great moments in this movie. Like obviously everybody knows the get to the chopper and the you're one ugly motherfucker line.
Oh my god! Yeah.
And there's also one of the ones that I love is that the scorpion is crawling on like I think it was like Carl Weathers' shoulder, and one of the guys takes a knife and it thinks just gonna stab him, and he stabs the scorpion. And it's one of those, it's just like, that scene shouldn't work as well as it does, but it works out so well.
And I like how they replay that through Predator vision, and then the Predator like learns how to speak as the people.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and something that they don't really do that much. Where like the Predator feels like it would be a perfect voice mimic.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because like they just don't deal with that as much, which is a little unfortunate. But
yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a really, really good movie.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think this movie is awesome. Again, 3 for 3 here. I would also throw this up in the S tier. Okay. I think it's might be my favorite of the Predator franchise. Definitely one of the best among these two franchises. But for me, like I love this movie. Like even when I first watched it, like I've seen it twice, and I definitely want to watch it again, just like I will with Alien.
Yeah, this is an S tier for me. I've seen it twice, as you've seen Alien twice. And the one complaint that I have with it is the pacing is a little weird. Like near the middle, it really starts to sag because it feels like at a certain point, the Predator should be more of a player in the movie than it actually is. But it's really leading you on this path of like, no, they're really going to do this mission that they were sent here to do. And then eventually when it's like, no, they were never going to do that mission. They were going to do the Predator. It gets better. But that little moment in the middle really drags the movie down.
So where it's like, like Dutch questions the people around him and saying that they were sent in to be hunted by the Predators instead of like...
It's one of those pitfalls where in the modern era of movies where if there's a really boring segment, then half the audience is on their phone and they never recover from it. Yeah. This has one of those phone traps in it, and it's a little unfortunate. It's A tier. It's still a very, very good movie, but it is A tier.
Yeah, for me, it kept my attention all the way through, but I guess I can understand for some people why it would drag a little bit. Yeah. But I guess for me, like, I really enjoyed, like, it had the tense moments, but also had the action side to it. And it really does impress me, once again, like, how this is an Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle, but you don't think of it as an Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle. Right. It's
a Predator vehicle. Yeah. And that's what's really impressive about it, is that's a Predator vehicle.
Yeah. So I guess a couple years later we get
3 years later. I think.
3 years later we get the follow up, which is Predator 2. Obviously, well, what else would you call a Predator follow up? Instead of setting in an actual jungle, they set it in a concrete jungle in L.A.
This movie is so weird.
Yeah, it's a strange one for me. I think of the previous three, this was I guess like a for my thoughts on this movie. The other 3 movies that we put on S tier, this is not one of them. I don't know. I respect the fact that they do something different, but this is one of those movies that really doesn't age well for me, and it's also one that's so 90s that it really annoys me.
And it's weird that it's so 90s because it's 1990. Like, they really got on the vibe quick with this one. It stars Danny Glover.
Yeah.
As the main guy. Arnold Schwarzenegger is nowhere to be found in this movie. As you can see, they didn't bring back the Arnold Schwarzenegger character to be part of the Predator franchise. They brought on this Danny Glover guy. And it's a different story. It's an entirely different story. And
totally new setting as well. Like, it feels like a total departure, which on the one hand, I appreciate that they try something different. Like, the concrete jungle setting, I do think is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, and there are movies that have done concrete jungle.
But I feel like the problem with this movie, besides its aging, is that it's about, like, a cop investigation. Right. But at the same time, it's like, if you know the Predator and you've seen the first one, we already know what the Predator, and we already know what it's capable of. So you're just spending, like, large majority of the runtime with these cops trying to figure out what it is. Right. But we already know what it is.
My big problem that prevented Predator from being S tier for me was the fact that it had that, like, slow down in the middle where we kind of know that the Predator's on the loose and we know that it's responsible for all these things, but they're still trying to string us on, and we've already checked out of that plot. This movie does that, except for most of the runtime. From the beginning to, like, credits roll, the Predator is, like, barely a part of it.
Yeah, like, on paper, this feels like a movie that should be kind of interesting. Like, the concrete jungle setting, you kind of have some of the Lethal Weapon vibe, like obviously, like, Danny Glover as the main character, but you kind of have that, like, investigation side of Lethal Weapon. And it's a movie that, like, I always feel like I want to like it more than I actually do.
Yeah, agreed. It reminded me a lot of RoboCop 2.
Yeah, a little bit.
It takes this giant left turn with the movie and the idea of the movie, and, like, because this movie's about a drug investigation. They're trying to go on a drug bust, which is also what RoboCop 2 is about, weirdly. Yeah. And they came out the same year. I think that there's something more going on here.
Yeah. I do think the opening's a little bit is kind of interesting, just seeing, like, this, like, totally new setting. Right. But at the same time, like, the Predator uses, like, it feels like you could have taken the Predator out of this movie and it would just been, like, a generic cop investigating drugs with a really way too stylized 90s aesthetic to it.
Yeah, it's like the color grading on this movie is so bad. It's like I'm watching this movie while my TV's buried in the sand.
Yeah, it's just, a little bit.
Everything is yellow or red or orange. And if the Predator was more of a part of it, it's a great movie.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Like, especially with this movie, you also get Gary Busey, you get Bill Paxton in a small role.
Bill Paxton.
Like, again, this movie is very 90s, and towards the end, like, you do get the big fight on the Predator ship. Yeah. And if you look closely, Danny Glover's looking at the skulls, and that's the first time you see the cross between these two franchises. A xenomorph skull is posted in the ship.
Yep, that's
and
true.
That part, it's like, okay, that's interesting, because AVP didn't come too long. I don't think too long after this movie.
And it came out a little while after, because AVP was early 2000s,
early 2000s.
So that's 20-ish years. No.
Like
12.
Yeah, a little bit.
Still, a sizable chunk of time. And the comic hadn't come out yet that AVP is based on.
And as with this movie, overall, I probably would say out of both of these franchises, this is probably the most forgettable movie out of all of them.
Yeah.
I
disagree.
But, I would probably say I would probably say this is the most forgettable for me, just because, like, I don't hate this movie. I can put it on and watch it okay. It's just one that doesn't really make a whole lot of a mark on me.
It's a movie. It feels like the whole Predator thing was kind of added in reshoots.
Yeah.
Because it's like, for most of the movie, it's the Predator doing things that we know the Predator is doing, but they can't find it. The Predator's kind of just hanging out in scenes by itself, like doing the heat-seeking thing. And then, like, the end, it's like the climax takes place in, like, a van.
Yeah, that was strange. And then you get like Danny Glover saying the exact same line from the first movie.
Right? It doesn't really know what it wants to be, and it feels like the Predator thing was kind of shoehorned in after. And I almost wish it was either there more or not there at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, at the end of the day, out of both these franchises, this is the first one on this list that I don't care for too often. I don't hate it either. I can watch it okay. Like, it's not one that I think is too bad, but not one that I would give a whole lot positive. I would probably place this in around the C tier, just because like There's some talent on display. I mean, some of it's kind of interesting, but I just don't think it works as a Predator movie, and it's not one that I have a desire to go back to and rewatch.
I also put it in the C tier. I much prefer RoboCop 2 to this.
Yeah.
They're basically the same movie, and RoboCop 2 is a better version of it. So yeah, Predator 2, C tier for me. And I respect the hell out of Danny Glover, but didn't do enough to elevate this movie to quite the heights that the franchise had already reached.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess moving on to the next one on this list, which we did talk about previously
on the David
Fincher tier list. Yeah. As some of you might recall, this is my least favorite movie of all time, and that's Alien 3.
Yeah. Remember when I said that Newt would never die?
Well, in the first 5 minutes of this movie, first 10 minutes, they kill off Newt and Hicks, kid you not, off screen.
She does not last a minute into this movie.
Yeah, they kill them off screen, and the end of Aliens, like in my mind, it was like so satisfying. Like Ripley found this newfound family with Newt and Hicks. They can finally sleep in cryosuit without nightmares. The first thing that happens is that they're killed off screen, and Ripley's sent to a prison planet, and I was just like, that is so bad. That is a terrible start. And the rest of the movie, like, the setting's not interesting. Like, Ripley herself doesn't really have, like, Sigourney Weaver's great as the character, but I feel like the character itself here didn't really have a whole lot to do.
I mentioned previously that after Aliens, Alien was becoming a franchise where directors would come in and do their own take on it, much like Mission Impossible in those early years. This is a tragedy. This movie's a tragedy when looking at it from both that perspective, like the perspective of the trajectory of the Alien Predator franchise, and also the trajectory of the career of the director, David Fincher, who would go on to become the guy who is known for hating doing anything relating to a studio.
Yeah.
And the studio stepped in and directed this whole movie.
Yeah, it feels like this is one of the early examples that feels like it was directed by committee.
Yeah.
And not by him. Like, obviously, like, I don't like this movie, but I will acknowledge, like, David Fincher's a world-class talent. Sigourney Weaver's great as Ripley. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say that's, like, somewhat, like, okay, like, there's some talent. But other than that, like, on a story level, like, this is just not a good movie. And what makes it worse for me is the first 10 minutes. That just completely destroys the ending of the last movie. And I don't know. It's just, like, on a story level, I really don't like what this movie did with the franchise.
I think, viewing it on a story level, I think the story is okay. It gets a lot better when you remove it from the context of the ending of the second movie and just take it in stride with the franchise of just like, okay, Ripley's life still sucks. Now she's marooned on this planet with like literally the worst criminals in like the galaxy is the idea there.
Yeah.
And she's there and they haven't seen a woman in like 30 years. And so there's a weird like criminal morality, criminal psychology. There's a religion thing happening that like the prison planet is home to a cult. There's some interesting things happening. It doesn't come together as much as I might have liked it to, but I can't fault it for that at least.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I would disagree. I don't know, this whole movie to me, like every time I think about it, like I cannot rewatch this past the first 10 minutes. And whenever I do, it's just like, I can't get past that Ripley from the previous two movies, that this is her logical continuation. I don't think any of the main plot lines were that engaging to me. Mm-hmm. And to me, this is just a movie that I just despise. And I'm not alone saying this. James Cameron described this one as a slap in the face to the audience. Yeah. David Fincher has gone on record saying that no one hates this movie more than him.
Oh, yeah. David Fincher doesn't even consider this his movie anymore.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. Just like, I really just don't like how the studio treated this one. The assembly cut, I don't know if you've seen the assembly cut. It's a little bit better, but I would still not call this movie a good movie.
It's a bad sign that the assembly cut is better than after going through the cutting room, you know? Yeah. Like, that's not typically how it's supposed to go. But I think that's probably just because David Fincher was more involved with that cut.
Yeah.
And there will never be a director's cut for this movie. Yeah, which kind of sucks because I want to see his take on it.
And also, they filmed this movie without a completed script, which is just wild.
Oh, yeah. There were like 4,000 like scripts. This was going to take place on a wood planet.
Yeah, I think I saw something about that.
I want to see the wood planet cut of this movie.
I do too. I feel like that's more interesting than the setting that was in this one.
Yeah, it's like they decided to do the wood planet. They sent the idea to H.R. Giger. He made a big penis, and then they didn't do the movie. I wish they did. The movie does feel like it has a lot of the echoes of the wood planet. They don't even have a gun in this movie.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
They have to like do this scheme where they're luring the alien through these tunnels to get it under this like boiler that sprays hot lead. And that's like how they kill it. I think that's super interesting. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in a better movie for me, I would have appreciated it more. But as for me, tier list, maybe slightly controversial, and just I'm sure you're gonna agree with me. This is an F. I'm putting this in F. Like I can't get past it. I think it's a horrible continuation of this franchise. I just like for me, this is the movie that one of the movies that I hate the most.
I appreciate how hard they tried to end the series here. Because if we ended it here, it would have ended on a sour note, but at least we would have been done. You know, Ripley dies at the end of this movie because there's an alien queen gestating inside of her head, which is weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not the best ending. The best ending would have been either of the two endings that we've already done.
Yeah.
But this is an ending to everything. We don't need to continue after this. So I appreciate it on that level of just like the studio wants this to last forever. Kill it as soon as possible. In the ever eternal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah.
And this movie bleeds and fights and is choking and is dying the whole time.
Yeah, that's me when I'm watching this movie.
And I find it fascinating, if not... It's not that great.
Where would you rank this one?
This is C tier for me. This is above Predator 2.
Interesting.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's fine. I will probably never watch it again, though.
Yeah,
I don't see any reason to.
I like if I have to go through a watch series, like I don't know if I will watch this one again, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like years past and I haven't seen this one. I'll try my best to watch it again,
Right.
just to like go through the whole franchise. But this is one that. It's just so distasteful for me, and that's all that's really painted the picture of that. I just can't get past. I can't get past the first 10 minutes. I can't get into the story. I don't like the fact that they killed off Ripley, but
Yeah, well, good news.
Yeah.
I like the POV shots that they do for the alien. It's very David Fincher. He would kind of become known for moving the camera in tune with the characters.
Yeah, but he does that a lot later on in his career.
Yeah, that feels like the beginning of that, and those are really cool shots. But that's silver lining to a movie that is all around not too good.
Yeah. And I guess following that up, if they didn't think that killing off Ripley was satisfying enough, we get Alien Resurrection.
Fuck this movie. Oh my
which
God.
which asks the question, did you ever want to see Ripley nailing 3-pointers without even looking? Did you ever want to see an alien hybrid with boobs for some reason? Me neither, but we have a movie that has that.
I hate this movie.
This movie is very, very strange to me.
Who did Joss Whedon write this one?
Yeah, it's by Joss Whedon from the director of Amelie, who if you don't know doesn't speak English.
No, he does not.
And
speak
Joss
English.
Whedon is a director who's known for his takes his poking fun at the English language, and you give that to someone who doesn't speak English. It's like, what's going on?
The director, by the way, is Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Jean-Pierre, okay, that's his name.
There was an actor in this movie that didn't speak English, and he learned all of his lines phonetically. And I don't mean to I don't want to hate on the guy because obviously he doesn't know what he's saying. He's learning it phonetically, and for that it's pretty good. But he also does not know how to enunciate anything. Nobody was around to help with that. It feels like it's really bad. It's about basically 200 years later or so, like something like that.
I think so. I think of both of these franchises. I think this is the one that takes place the most.
It has the biggest time gap because the first one and the second one's 50 years.
Yeah.
And then second one, third one's an afternoon.
Yeah. Isn't this the one that takes place the most in the future? Or is
yes. This is in the timeline. If you were to put it in a timeline, this is the furthest into the future.
How are you gonna follow this one up?
Yeah. So essentially, they've resurrected Ripley from her DNA, but for some reason, a reason that's never explained, and a reason that I guarantee doesn't make sense, the alien queen from her head in the third movie is back, which doesn't make sense because that wouldn't be in her DNA. That's a whole separate organism.
Yeah,
shouldn't be. But for some reason, she comes back and she's stupid. She's really dumb.
Yeah, she's not her. The Ripley in this movie is not Ripley.
No, it's not. And Sigourney Weaver does her best to sell it, but she's not playing the same character.
Yeah.
And for some reason, she's just this really dumb, really hypersexualized character that just I don't like it. I really, really don't like it.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie, I can't say it's good. There's some I actually do think there's some interesting ideas in here. The underwater sequence with the alien, I think, is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's some things that it explores, but also a couple things that bugged me about, like, the main thing that bugs me about this franchise up until a recent one with the hybrid. I hate the hybrid that is in this movie, especially when it was cuddling with Ripley. I don't know. There's some fun, like, some of Joss Whedon's style comes out a little bit. There's some things that I enjoy. And at the end of the day, this one doesn't offend me as much. Like, I can be okay with not liking this one. I do think the underwater sequence works for me.
I feel like the Joss Whedon style that comes through is just violent misogynism. Like, I just don't like how this is written at all. It has this weird connotation towards the rest of the series where there's been an arc that we haven't really been touching on, but in the first movie, there's an android aboard the ship that is essentially working against the crew to get the alien to, like, wherever the company wants the alien to be.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, Ripley's distrustful of the alien, but of the android, because of the android that it betrayed her. But then this android's, like, cool, and so she's, like, good friends with the android. And in Alien 3, she actually goes to the android for, like, advice.
Yeah.
Because like, his head is still around. Like, they've managed to, like his head's just in, like, a scrap pile, and that's all they need to, like, live and, like, talk. And then in this movie, there's an android where it feels like Ripley is, like, low-key in love with her.
Yeah. I don't know. There's, that's actually weird now that you mentioned that.
It's like, it doesn't fit cohesively with the rest of the movie. At a certain point, it kind of feels like it's there because it was there in the first Alien.
Yeah.
It's got to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, there's a lot of so bad it's good in here. There's actually a couple things in here that I find interesting, but by no means is this a good movie. So, like, for me, I would put this in the D tier. Like, it's bad. It's bad. But it's not offensive to me. I can get some, like, hilariously bad reactions out of it. And honestly, like, I rewatched the water sequence way more than I probably should. And I feel like they should do that again in this franchise.
I don't rewatch anything from this movie. I try to blot it out from my mind every opportunity I get. The only the only thing I remember, the most fun I derive from this movie is thinking about the line read where they open the door and they're expecting the alien, but it's like the guy on their crew, and he just yells like, "What do you think it is, Santa Claus?"
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some moment, like, there's a lot of moments like that, but, like, I can't help but laugh at how bad it is.
Right? No,
so,
that's,
like,
a really funny scene.
Yeah, it's like some of it, like, that's what squeaks it up a tier from being down in the F tier. So, like, there's some things like that I can just, like, sit back and laugh. And I hope they do an underwater xenomorph scene again, because I think that was actually kind of cool.
Well, if you ever wanted to see an alien with a tongue, this is the movie for you. This is in D tier, the lowest rated movie I have so far on this list.
Yeah, not one in the F tier. I'm surprised.
Not yet. I don't like this movie.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't like it.
I think it's bad, but honestly, like, I wouldn't lie if I said I had some dumb fun with it.
I mostly had I had one dumb fun, and then
it was that.
I was in pain for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, hopefully, I guess moving on to ones that are, at least this movie, I think, is actually a lot of fun in this franchise.
This is a really interesting movie.
Very controversial when you talk about it with the rest of them, and that's the very first Alien versus Predator movie.
Yeah, so there was this company that went around, like, buying comic book rights to different characters so that they could have them fight. And the most popular one was Alien versus Predator.
Yeah.
And at this point, the alien had been called the Xenomorph. It was named that in Alien 2. But they went with Alien versus Predator, probably for marketability, but it is interesting that it is, like, a degree of separation away from the popular culture. They made this comic. It was adapted into a movie in, I think, 2002. I could be totally wrong about that, but
I think something like that. This movie also came out in an era with a lot of, like, this versus that. Like, obviously, Freddy versus Jason came out around the same time.
I think that was another one from the same company. By the way, it was 2004.
Yeah. But yeah, around the same time as that. So, like, you get, like, I don't know, for me, the only real major negative, like, really major negative I have with this movie is that it's not rated R. Like, I hate the fact that this movie's PG-13. Like, you have two completely R-rated characters. like you have a creature that literally takes its hooks and takes out someone's spine.
Yeah.
And you have one shoot out, literally implant someone with a chest burster out of their chest and grow into an alien. And then you turn that into like a PG-13 for slime and gore. That's the MPA. Like, like, oh, kids, don't watch Nickelodeon. There's slime in it.
There's slime. No,
like
not
it's bizarre.
There's slime and gore.
And this is a movie that, like, if you told me you didn't like it, I would understand. But honestly, out of every movie I've probably ever seen, this is probably the biggest guilty pleasure movie I have.
This is the first movie with a trigger warning for KY jelly. So, this was also directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh my god, yeah.
He's trying his best, man.
He tries.
He did like 4 Resident Evil movies and the Mortal Kombat movie, and he did Event Horizon, which I think is really, really good. And, you know, he's just going with it, man. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah. I mean, this movie has a lot of fun. I mean, you get the humans teaming up with the predators to fight the queen alien. And then you get, like, some of the characters, like, one of them's, like, filming a little movie for his kids.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is honestly a lot of fun. Like, it's not great. It doesn't take itself too seriously. But, like, out of all the movies in the franchise, like, I would love to rewatch this one.
My problem with it is that you can put a watch to it. It's probably the most generic action I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like,
I mean, I've seen Paul W.S. Anderson do way worse. Like, if you watch Resident Evil, the final chapter, that has some of the worst action sequences I've ever seen. And this movie has decent action. Yeah,
and I also appreciate how weird they go with the lore of this thing.
Yeah.
It's like
the Arctic setting.
The Predator, like the Predator race in this movie has been enslaving the xenomorphs and, like, sending plagues on them and, like wiping out species by sending xenomorphs at them.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. That's the one thing in this movie that I think stands out, and that's the thing that I remember.
Yeah. Another thing I remember about this movie is that the humans are going down the Arctic Temple, and they're, like, scared that something that, like, they're gonna get fought by an alien or a xenomorph or a predator, and a penguin randomly just pops out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it's like it's dumb. It knows exactly what it wants to be. Like, some of the movies that are lower on this list, like, try to be something better, but ended up falling way below that. And there's some movies that, like, obviously, like, are better in quality. But out of all of them, I feel like this one, like, it's self-aware. It's not trying to be anything better than that. So, like, for me, I would put this movie in the B tier. Like, I think it's good. Like, it's solid. It's solid fun for me.
Yeah, this movie also introduces Charles Wayland.
Oh,
who weirdly becomes this, like, very, very important figure in the later movies. The company, as it's referred to in the first movies, is called Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah, and so it would be for I guess, some of the later movies.
That's a piece of lore that sticks around, and, like, every movie references Weyland-Yutani, Weyland-Yutani, Weyland-Yutani. And this introduces the character played by Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
So there you go. This is a very generic movie. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. I'm also not going to pretend like I didn't have fun with it. Like, I don't know. I like seeing the aliens and the predators whack on each other.
I do too.
It is fun. There's, like, this scene that was, like, born to be iconic where the predator, it has, like, the Wolverine claws, and it uppercuts an alien, and it's like the claws go through the jaw of the alien, and then the predator, like, pulls it really close and, like, staring at each other.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's an iconic scene. I love that scene.
Yeah.
And then there's also, like, the leader xenomorph has, like, a fun cross-stitch pattern on his head.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
Again, like, this movie is a lot of fun. And probably, for me, the ultimate guilty pleasure movie of all time. It knows what it wants to be, and I think it delivers on that.
I think that's fair. I put it in C tier, right below Alien 3 and nestled right above Predator 2.
Okay.
Just, like, you know, a fine, like, a good movie. It executes on what it tries to do. And though I find it less interesting than Alien 3, I appreciate it for what it's trying to be. And it is one of 2 Alien Predator comic book movies. Like, it's like...
a little bit.
Like,
because it's based off a comic
series. It's based on the comic series, and they never tried to do that again. They never, like, did that medium, which, I don't know, I think it kind of works.
I don't know. Hopefully we can get another Alien vs. Predator one day.
Well, you know, as of right now, where Alien vs. Predator left up on, not that great. Because they ended on Aliens vs. Predator Requiem.
Yeah, we did get a follow-up to this movie, and guess what? It's actually rated R. Shouldn't it be a whole lot better? No, this movie is complete ass. Honestly, out of all of these movies, this honestly might be my least favorite. Like, there is not a single redeeming quality that I have with this movie at all.
It was directed by the Strauss brothers, who
Yeah.
they're credited as the Brothers Strauss, which is so pretentious for a directing team that has made like 3 movies, all of which are below 2-star average.
Yeah.
Like, that's really bad.
Yeah, and this movie in particular, like, it kind of has, like, the, like, I know you haven't seen the Die Hard franchise, but the fourth film, the Die Hard franchise, like, Live Free or Die Hard, is directed by Len Wiseman. And that movie was rated PG-13 and fans went insane. I actually think it's one of the better ones in the franchise. And the follow-up, A Good Day to Die Hard, was back to being rated R, and that movie completely sucks. And this kind of has the same thing, where AVP, like, the biggest thing I have against it is the PG-13 rating, but this movie, while being rated R again, just completely misses, like, the schlock value.
Right.
And it's so dark, and I mean that literally. There's not a single light that they used to film this movie. You have 2 creatures with dark complexions and dark spaces and close-ups. You can't tell what is going on.
It's like Alien vs. Predator might have been rated PG-13 for slime.
Yeah.
But at least I could see the slime.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening in this movie. I could watch a blank screen and get the same amount of enjoyment out of it. This was made in 2007, which was like the era in which they stopped lighting scenes because they were like, oh, these cameras are so much better than the old film stock we used to have. We don't have to put up any lights and it'll still capture images. And it's like, yeah, but I can't see anything. I can't see anything. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it's like, it's literally just shadows, man. Like, I couldn't tell what was going on within, like, this... The entire movie, I just couldn't tell what was going on.
The plot. Yeah, go ahead.
And what's weird about the title, instead of being Alien vs. Predator Requiem, it's Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, which I think is weird. Why are you pluralizing the alien, not the predator?
Right.
And it's like none of the characters in this movie, none of them are memorable whatsoever. And some of it just gets, like, even thematically, just way too dark. Like, a face hugger jumps on a kid, a predator enters a room full of babies, thinking it's going to eat all the babies, and then a xenomorph, like, impregnates a pregnant woman, and it's just like...
Does that happen?
Or something like that.
I don't remember that at all, but I also probably didn't see it if it did happen.
Yeah, and it's off-putting, and it's like, obviously, like, this franchise is, like, gritty and rated R, but I feel like this movie just completely missed why this franchise is rated R.
This movie is also the second to take place on Earth, because, like, at end of Alien Resurrection, they go back to Earth, right? But then Alien versus Predator takes place in the past, like before Alien Resurrection, and they're on Earth. This movie just takes place in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, it's
for some
weird.
reason. It's just like, we're here now.
It's like, oh, where can we set this? Here, Colorado Springs. That's perfect. Not Alien Planet. We don't have the budget for that. We don't have the lights.
It's got to be Colorado Springs because they just happen to, like, hold the pitch meeting there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. It's terrible.
Yeah, this movie's an F. I would put it below Alien 3, which kind of pains me because I hate Alien 3, but I hate this movie. Like, there is just nothing about this movie that's good.
Aliens vs. Predator Requiem is the worst movie to come out of any of these franchises.
I would agree.
It's probably the worst thing Ridley Scott has ever created by association. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's so bad. It's like, even if I could see it, it wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Like, they don't do anything. They do all of this weird stuff that's super off-brand for the franchise that feels like it belongs more in a shock pulp horror movie. Like, stuff that is more attuned for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey than, like, Alien versus Predator. And they do it while you can't see anything with characters that not only suck, they're also obnoxious.
Yeah, they're horrible people.
The predators and the aliens are converging on Colorado Springs, and they somehow find time to have sex at the school pool. Like, what is happening?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
This movie it's absolute nonsense, and I, like, of all the movies, like, even Alien 3, like, I just completely discount this one from the franchise.
If I had to pick one to have unseen, it would be this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's an F tier. It is a turbo F tier. One of the worst movies I've ever seen is this movie.
I would honestly agree. Like, I've seen some really bad ones, and this is also one of them.
Yeah, no, this is down there with the worst.
Yeah. Thankfully, the next movie on this franchise, going back to the Predator franchise.
Yeah.
One that I actually think is quite a bit underrated, and that's Predators from 2010, I think is when they came out.
2013.
2013, yeah.
No, 2010. You're right.
2010.
You're right.
Yeah, this is one that when I first watched it, I really enjoyed it, and I'm honestly kind of surprised it doesn't get a lot more love from the fan base.
Yeah, so this stars Adrian Brody, Topher Grace, and Alice Braga.
Yeah, even like Lawrence Fishburne, Walton Goggins.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne is. Oh,
yeah.
Walt might go.
And you also get like Mahershala Ali in this movie as well.
Yeah, Danny Trejo's in it.
Yeah, Danny Trejo as well. Great cast.
It's a good cast, and they're all playing like these weirdly qualified military operatives that have been shoved in the middle of this jungle somewhere. And can you believe it? There's a predator, but not just one.
There's multiple.
There's multiple because this is called Predators. I think we said that, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a callback to Aliens, like the Alien sequel.
Yeah, a little
Aliens.
bit.
So this is like the Predator sequel. It's Predators, and it feels a lot more thematically similar to the first Predator.
Yeah.
Than like Predator 2 did.
Yeah, I know one of the bigger criticisms of this movie that it feels like a soft remake, and it does play it safe. I will give it that, but it does add a little bit. Like they're on a distant planet. It's actual predator, like human predators going out and hunting predators, which I think is kind of interesting. Sure, was Adrian Brody the right person to play the main character? I think the voice that he does is so distracting. Like, if I had to say like any real major negative with this one, it would be his voice. Like, I don't think him as an actor really held this one back. It's just when you're trying to do Christian Bale Batman voice for like 2 hours of the runtime and you're talking like this, come on. It's just like, come on, like that's not gonna work.
Adrian Brody is typecast, big time. He's like in The Brutalist and in King Kong. He's the same character. He's this like chain smoking, depressed European immigrant. That's like his character.
Yeah.
That's who and I think like for some reason that gets written into all of his scripts that he's a European immigrant. And I don't know why. I don't know why he keeps coming from like Hungary.
I don't know. It's a little bit weird.
He's just, I guess, visibly Jewish. I don't think this movie is very good.
Really?
I
actually kind of like it.
I feel like they tried writing Adrian Brody into the role that he always plays. It doesn't work. That's not the character for this movie. I think that they don't do anything special with this movie. They keep trying to like bring something new to the franchise, but the most deep statement they can come up with is the enemy of my enemy is not my friend, which is like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's just not that good. It's not that good.
Yeah. For me, I would actually disagree. I actually enjoy this one quite a bit. It's not great. I think it definitely slows down a little bit when you get to the Lawrence Fishburne stuff, and certainly it is a soft reboot-ish of the original Predator, which
it is.
I think it's fine for that, but I honestly enjoy it. Like, I think the cast elevates it. There's some fun dynamics, and it also introduced us to a kind of samurai-esque character fighting the Predator, which a lot of people like me really wanted to see the Predator fight an actual samurai, which we did get once we talk about a film later on this list.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's really enjoyable for me. Not great. Definitely not best of either. Definitely not the best of either one of the franchises. I would put it at a B tier. I think it's pretty good. Of all of them, I think it's probably the most underrated for me, just because of I enjoy this kind of thing. But I don't know if I get some of the criticisms, but I enjoy it.
I'm the people levying those criticisms. This movie feels like smoke. It's nothing. It's so forgettable. This is the most forgettable movie of this whole thing. Like, I could barely tell you what happens in this movie, like, actually, other than that they fight predators. I know that there's a point at which one of the team members betrays them. I don't remember which one, but he's, like, working with the predators somehow. That didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh, yeah, Topher Grace. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't know which actor plays him, but regardless, it's like they're trying to do the plot from Predator with the plot twists from Alien. Which is like, it feels like it should work better than it does. Like, oh, what if there was a character working with the Predator? As it turns out, not that interesting. So,
yeah.
I don't think this movie needed to be made. I don't think this movie should have been made. If anything, I'm glad that it got made because it kind of rebooted the Predator franchise in a way that we hadn't seen. And it would lead to some good movies. Like, the Predator franchise picked itself up after a little bit. Not here, though. This is a C-tier movie. It's the bottom of the C tier, right below Predator 2.
Wow.
This has about the same... I'm about as interested in this movie as I am in Predator 2. But I'm much less impressed by what they did with it. They didn't take something daring. This isn't Concrete Jungle. There's no drug bust happening. It's just like we made a movie about the predator in the jungle. We've done that like 4 times now.
Yeah, which I get that, but I don't know. For me, like I like both of the franchises, so I found some enjoyment out of this one that I didn't realize I did. But I don't know, it definitely plays this one safe, but yeah. I don't know, enjoyable one for me.
I wanted to love this movie and I just didn't, and it's too bad. I really do wish I liked this movie. So bottom of the C tier. It's still better than Alien Resurrection, and so far it's the worst of the Predator movies, at least the standalone ones.
Yeah. And I guess shifting it back to the Alien franchise, and not only that, but this was Ridley Scott's return to this franchise.
Yep.
And a very complicated one, at least for me, and that's Prometheus.
The
Alien prequel.
It is better that it's not called Alien, you know? As a movie called Prometheus, that's sort of a little bit adjacent to the Alien franchise, and obviously it ties in a lot at the end, especially. And it had like a follow-up, and this was like planned to be the great revival of Alien. It suffers a lot from being connected to Alien.
Yeah. As for me, you might disagree with me on this one. I really don't like this movie.
I do disagree with you.
I don't think this movie works hardly at all, especially as an Alien prequel. And people tell me it's like, well, if you take it on its own terms, how would you like? I don't know. Just because this movie is a balance of two things.
Right.
Is it an Alien prequel, or is it Ridley Scott's pretentious like musings as to where humans came from and like all this life and creation and philosophy and things like that? The first half had some ideas that I thought were interesting, but the second half completely lost me on every single level. The characters in this one, and especially the follow-up, which we'll get to, they have some of the dumbest characters in the entire franchise. Yeah. To the point where it's just completely unbearable for me to watch. And the only tie to Alien this has is literally in the last, like, 30 seconds of the movie.
Yeah.
Which really angered me.
Yeah, and I feel like I was able to sort of disconnect myself from the fact that it was an Alien movie, because at a certain point you realize there's not going to be an alien in this movie.
Yeah.
And there isn't a xenomorph. There are a couple of weird species, because they go to this foreign planet in search of these creatures known as engineers.
Oh, the engineer, like the hybrid thing. Yeah.
The engineers are the pastiest things. Like they're the shine in the sun. They're so white. And they like created humans. They're like the thing that created humans.
With Prometheus, like this is definitely a frustrating one for me, because I've talked to some people after I said I didn't like this movie, and they're like, well, it's a great movie, you just have to separate from the Alien franchise. And I was like, would you like it better if it wasn't? Well, I don't know, because it is associated with the Alien franchise. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, for me, a film that I don't think works as an Alien prequel. Definitely not at all. As a film in and of itself, I also don't think it works either. I don't think the story is that interesting. The only part that was somewhat interesting was the Michael Fassbender's character of David.
Yeah.
Definitely an interesting character, but having Guy Pearce play having way too much makeup on as like Wayland.
Yeah, Wayland. Yeah.
It's like Ridley Scott. Like, do you know that there's 90-year-old actors out there? Like, you can cast 90-year-old actors in those movies. Like, you don't have to just cake like a 30-year-old guy in makeup.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty interesting about its thoughts about the origins of humans. The engineers, as I mentioned before, created humans. So like there's something about like trying to find our origins. It reminds me a lot of Interstellar in some parts, which I know is a lofty comparison to make, but
interesting.
The scale of it feels appropriate to me, and Ridley Scott does this huge sweeping shots of like these crazy landscapes and like stuff.
Yeah.
It has some fun tie-ins to the first Alien. The ship that they board where the engineer is being kept is the same ship from the first Alien movie where they find the xenomorph.
Yeah.
Like there's a pretty interesting tie-ins there.
Yeah, on a visual perspective, like on a directing perspective, it's done really well. Like obviously there's great actors in here. Like some I forget, like Charlize Theron and Idris Elba are also in this movie. I mean Guy Pearce, like I mentioned, which the old man stuff really throws me off.
Yeah.
But the main thing that holds me back on this is that as a prequel, it commits the ultimate prequel problem for me, in that it answers a question I wasn't asking with an answer that I didn't like.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to know the backstory. I don't particularly want to know the backstory of the xenomorphs.
Right.
Like that's just something that I don't watch the first Alien. I'm like, oh, where did the xenomorphs? Like, where were they born from? Like, you're like the mystery behind them. I think is what makes that interesting. And so having a film that goes back to try to answer that is something that I don't want to see. And not only does it give answers that I don't want, but it's a film that doesn't even really tackle that either. So it's like, I don't know what to do with this movie.
Prometheus suffers from being an Alien movie, but is saved by being a prequel to Alien Covenant, in my opinion. Um, it is weird, like how it is connecting to Alien, but also not connecting to Alien in a very like back and forth way. And I agree with you that this movie does have big prequel syndrome. Like I felt the same way about Wicked, where I was like, I don't actually care why the yellow brick road is yellow. It's just yellow. They made it out of yellow bricks. No, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I know some of that in prequels. Like I can't stand it when prequels do that.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, I didn't really need this movie, but I'm excited to see where Ridley Scott takes it. And I agree with you, it falls off in the second half, but not that bad. Like I still think this is a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think this movie works very much. There is tons of talent on display, and there's actually quite a few interesting ideas that I think the first half explores. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this isn't a movie that I really like, but I can't put it down in the same tier as Alien Resurrection. So I put this in C, but at the top of the C tier. Like I don't like this movie. There's on a story level, especially as a piece of this franchise, that really frustrates me. But as a film, I can't really lower it that much down because of it. But it's just I don't really know what to do with this movie other than it doesn't work for me as a prequel. As a film, it feels oddly uneven.
Yeah.
And so it's just one that's just kind of there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I have it not too far from you. I have it at the bottom of the B tier. Right above Alien 3 for me. I think it's good. Like I don't have a major qualm with it in the way that I did some of the worst Alien movies and some of the worst Predator movies. I agree with you that sometimes it feels like it's just there, but other times it feels like Ridley Scott's actually hinting at something really interesting, especially with the character of David, and David gets a lot more interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like with this movie, I wonder if it was Ridley Scott trying to make his own, and the studio was like, "Why don't you try to make an Alien movie?" And so he was like, "Okay, let me try to tell Alien best I can." It feels like that stuff was shoehorned in, and he took that and tried to explore not only creation of like the engineer Prometheus and all that,
right,
but also the creation of the xenomorphs, which is again something I didn't want answered. So for me, it's a frustrating one for me because like I don't know whether I like this movie standalone or as a part of the Alien, because for me it just doesn't work either way.
Yeah, it's weird because we said that Alien or Predator 2 felt shoehorned in because the Predator wasn't in it. I feel the opposite about this movie. I feel like the fact that the Alien isn't in it means it couldn't possibly have been shoehorned in at the last minute. You know, it's such a delicate setup for Alien Covenant, and obviously if you watched Alien Covenant and Prometheus as a two-parter, it's a lot better. Even as separate movies, though, I think it's still really good, and it doesn't feel like the Alien was an afterthought to me. I do feel like Ridley Scott was actually trying to do something, and I can respect that intentionality.
Yeah, I guess when you talk about like especially as we're into like the new era of the Alien and Predator franchise, like this one and also the next movie that we talk about are just movies that like I don't particularly care for all that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess moving on to the next one, the sequel, Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Alien Covenant. They market this movie. This is going back. This is going to be the movie that everyone who didn't like Prometheus, like myself, would walk into and like. And when this movie is an alien movie telling an alien story, I think it's fine. Like it kind of has like for you like the Predators thing where like it does play it safe. But when this movie becomes a Prometheus sequel, it just completely loses me. Like I can pinpoint especially when it gets bad. And when it starts to get good again.
I'm a defender of this movie. I'm a big defender of Alien Covenant. I think Alien Covenant is one of the better Alien movies, like just as a whole.
Interesting.
You said that you never wanted the answer to how the alien was made, but after watching this movie, I'm kind of glad I have it. Like, there's such an interesting thing here because this movie reveals that David, the android from Prometheus, created xenomorphs with this weird goo substance that the engineers left behind. And he created them to wipe out the engineers.
Yeah.
Which is like weird and interesting, and why would he do that? And there's an interesting thing of like man-created robot, like engineer created, man created, robot created, xenomorph destroyed engineer. There's a cycle there, which is interesting. Like, okay, so the engineers created their own demise. What are the ethics of creating these things? And it goes into like, you know, the android was perfectly controllable by the company. Was that a good thing? Because on one hand, the android was completely obedient and it led to the deaths of all of the crew members on the Nostromo. On the other hand, this robot kind of has its own thing going on, and it wipes out an entire race because it like got too creative.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that in a little sense. The answers they do give in this movie, I kind of wish I preferred not knowing where the xenomorphs came from. For me, it just didn't feel like it added to the creatures, and I feel like it kind of took away some of the mystery surrounding them. And also, like I said with Prometheus, it had some really dumb characters. This movie
Yeah.
could not have dumber characters.
Eh.
You have Billy Crudup's character who shoots one of the xenomorphs created by David. David says, "Follow me," and he does that. He opens up like the egg that the face huggers live in, and Billy Crudup decides it's a good idea to look through it, and of course
Yeah.
he's surprised when a face hugger jumps on his face. Like there's stuff
Yeah.
like that I think kind of, I don't know, that kind of took me back a little bit. Like feel like for me, the second David shows up to the point where he has the battle with Walter and David, and then they leave.
Yeah.
That whole section of the movie, I really couldn't stand.
Walter, by the way, is another android, also played by Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a caveman discovering fire. Like, yeah, Michael Fassbender's really good in his as an android. You cast him twice.
Yeah. So like for me, it's just like the Prometheus 2 side of things didn't really work because I didn't really care for the idea of sport of Prometheus.
No.
But the alien stuff for me is also like it's Ridley Scott borrowing from his best work. And
Okay.
so this movie is also kind of one that's just kind of there to where it's just like its best is I can just watch Alien if I want that, but also its worst, it's just down there with Prometheus for me. So where it's just more creations, creators, life, and it's just all that stuff that I wasn't really a whole lot crazy about.
Yeah.
Giving more answers that I didn't really want. And also some of it just gets weird. Like you have David fingering like notes on a flute, which I thought was
Yeah.
just really odd.
You blow, I'll do the fingering. It's a
Yeah.
real line that's spoken in this movie.
Yeah. Try not to take it out of context.
I did.
Yeah. But yeah, also, you know how it's strange that like on the internet people hype Danny McBride's performance so much? I don't understand. He's in the movie for
understand it.
5 minutes.
I like Danny McBride's performance in this movie.
Really?
I'm the
I'm
guy
not-
who likes Danny McBride's
Yeah,
performance.
I didn't think he was bad. It's just he's barely in the movie, and people are like, "Oh my god, he's like he should have been nominated for an Oscar." I was like,
No,
"Sure."
no.
I was like,
I wouldn't go that far. He's not that good. He's just good. Like, I think that character's name is Tennessee.
Yeah.
Is one of the most interesting characters we've had. I mean, Ripley solos, but Tennessee's a really interesting character.
Yeah,
This movie in general tries to sell you on a lot of relationship dynamics that I kind of missed. Like, I don't know if they explained them, did like a pronoun circle or whatever at the beginning of the movie, but like every character is like, my wife's down there, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I don't remember your
Yeah.
wife being down there at all.
I don't either. And it's just like I don't know. Like there's some fun to be had. Like when it's an alien movie, when it's an alien story. I think it's actually pretty interesting and kind of fun, like seeing xenomorph with 21st century technology. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, some of the later, like one of the later ones I will get into, I think kind of affirmed that a little bit and kind of
Right.
took away from this movie a little bit for me.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't like this movie a whole lot. I think I would put it also in the C tier, just above Prometheus. It's there. I don't really care for it that much, but also like I don't really feel that offended by it. Like
Right.
this and Prometheus are kind of interchangeable for me.
Okay.
I feel like this movie is more frustrating than Prometheus just because it's balancing both Alien story as well as Prometheus 2 all in one.
Right.
And then Prometheus is just a movie that its initial ideas I didn't feel like it explored too well. So
Right.
I kind of have them both around the same, but I would probably edge out Alien Covenant just because it has more of what I would come to these movies for.
I kind of feel like the movie doesn't necessarily impact the other movies in the series. Like, okay, it's fair to say that it doesn't add something to the other movies because where the alien came from doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, I also don't think it takes away from the movies. It's just an interesting story that they're telling in the same universe, which I think is a fair thing to do. I think you're allowed to do that, and I do think they do it really well. I like Danny McBride. I like Michael Fassbender. The movie's not bad. I really do like this movie.
Yeah. Where would you rank it?
It's B tier, right above Prometheus.
Okay, so like I guess like both of us have it on the same. I guess like you have it B tier, I have it C tier.
Yeah, but in the same relationship with Prometheus, essentially.
Yeah. I guess since you're someone who likes the two of them, and I'm someone who's a little bit more critical, are you kind of upset that we didn't get a close to the trilogy?
A little bit and a little bit not, in the sense that like a third movie doesn't necessarily need to exist for the story to have received some closure. I would have loved for them to have done the Prometheus, because like the Prometheus is like a prequel, Alien Covenant is like Alien. I would have loved to see them do Aliens, but in this like Ridley Scott styled prequel thing that they were going on with. I think that would have been cool. I'm not too upset that we didn't get to see it. But yeah, no, I probably would have loved that movie too.
Yeah, I feel like if they announce it now, I would just see like what it would have been.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, like Ridley Scott's involvement with this franchise going forward is something that's immediately going to be a red flag for me, just because his exploration of things I don't think is too interesting. Now there is a movie on this list that actually dove into that a little bit and actually surprised me with how much I bought it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess just with these two, it's just initially I didn't really care for either of them too much.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I liked both of them. And I think that the end of Alien Covenant is really cool, and it really brought back the power of a single xenomorph.
Yeah.
It's like you get to a point where aliens had a whole swarm of xenomorphs. So did Alien Resurrection. And then the Alien versus Predator movies, that was like their thing. There was no single xenomorph anymore.
Yeah.
Xenomorphs became only scary when they were already in a mob. This brought that back, and now the xenomorph is scary on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I guess, with the new revival of the Alien and Predator franchise, maybe they'll go back to these stories. But if they were left in the past, that would be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair. Speaking of a story that should be left in the past, we have the one of three of the Predator movies that we'll be talking about here. Yeah, and remember how I said earlier, Shane Black writing and directing a Predator movie sounds like it would be great. This movie is really not.
This is The Predator, directed by Shane Black in 2018, I think.
Yeah, this movie to me was such a disappointment.
Yeah.
It's such a disappointment. Like,
I agree.
I didn't hear the reception of any of these movies when I first watched them.
Me neither.
And this was when I first started watching them, this was the most recent that had come out.
Yeah, that's not true for me. But
and yeah, at the time that I watched it, had been 2 years since it came out. I didn't hear too much about it. Which for better or worse, I guess that's when I guess that clouded my vision of when I watched it.
Yeah.
This movie, I feel like its initial setup is kind of interesting. But the second, like, the hybrid Predator shows up, this movie just completely goes off the rails. And it's like, I could not believe that Shane Black wrote and directed this, because this just seems like something that just doesn't fit in his filmography. Like, you're talking about the guy who wrote the Lethal Weapon movies. Earlier, like we said, he acted in the original Predator and punched up the script for that movie. So it seems like he would be perfect to do this, but he just wasn't.
There's a scene early in this movie where the main character one of the main characters, a kid played by Jacob Tremblay, is in school, and a fire alarm goes off.
Oh yeah, isn't his character like autistic?
His character's autistic.
Yeah.
And the fire alarm goes off, and he starts having a panic attack because he's sensitive to loud sounds, as many autistic people are. And the bullies, like the weird guys, like the prototypical jocks, are like going around the school being like, I can't believe that we got them so good. These idiots think there's actually a fire. And there's like a game of chess that was being played in front of the Jacob Tremblay character, and they go in and they like sweep all the pieces off the board, and then Jacob Tremblay goes in and like puts them back as they were. I wanted to throw something at the TV. I was so ready to be done with this movie, and that's like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's the most tropey, worn out, inaccurate, and really, really, really terrible autistic representation I might have seen in any movie. It's like,
it's not good.
It's like an Angel Studios movie. Like, what is happening? I really hate this movie.
Yeah, I don't like it either. For me, I mean, some of the main when you get into the main characters, like some of them are honestly kind of fun. Like you get I forgot his name, like the bad guy from Logan plays one of the characters in this movie.
Oh yeah.
That whole dynamic. There's some fun like Shane Black dialogue in this movie, but ultimately I think this movie was played. Like this movie also had a terrible production where apparently like its test screenings were just absolutely horrendous, and so they had to rewrite and reshoot like a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
It's set on one night. And there's a line of dialogue in this movie where two characters are like, hey, do you remember back at Halloween night? I'm like, well, You
It is Halloween.
You mean 2 hours ago?
There was never a sunrise and like a day in this movie, and they act like it's been like 3 years. It's like I don't get what's happening.
Yeah, like some of that's reshoots, but like I don't know. There's just way too many ideas in here being explored, and this movie is just it's so bad, and it's bad to the point where it's just so disappointing that Shane Black actually like made. It's not all of it's his fault. Like some of it was like reshoots and play production, but even some of it, like the initial setup, like I feel like Shane Black was struggling a little bit of what to do with this standalone Predator movie. So yeah, this movie is, I think it's pretty bad. I don't even really have that much to say in terms of just.
There's one performance I think is good, and it's the performance of Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah,
who is almost allergic to being bad at acting. He's really good in this movie. The movie doesn't deserve him. The movie's really bad. This movie also does, besides from the terrible autistic representation that is not only insanely offensive, but also inaccurate. Like, he's sensitive to loud sounds at the beginning of the movie, but by the end of the movie, they're like shooting the Predator, and he's literally in an active war zone, and he's fine. Like,
yeah, it's just
okay.
This movie, it doesn't make any sense. But the main cast, like with Keegan-Michael Key and like the bad guy from Logan or whatever, I think his name's like Boyd Holbrook. I think is the guy's name in real life.
Let me check that out. You keep talking.
Yeah, and so like that those cast of characters, like they provided some entertainment to this movie. Like that side of things, like there's some entertainment value to be had, I guess, with them. But I mean, there's just way too many. Like there's like good guy predators, and there's the hybrid predator, which CGI was terrible.
Boyd Holbrook.
Yeah.
The CGI predator, the hybrid, they call it the Predator Killer in the movie, which is probably the worst name for a monster. Period. Point blank. Dumb. Yeah. It's stupid. The Predator Killer? The Predator Killer. Just, what are you doing? Yeah. What is even happening? And then the Predator Killer, he says like, oh, I want to take one of you as a trophy, which is a weird thing. That's not a thing that has ever been done in one of the other Predator movies. It's a thing that gets done actually a lot more later, which is weird. And he's like, oh, I'm going to pick the most valiant warrior among you. And he decides to pick the 10-year-old autistic kid who is like sensitive to loud sounds, because there's a scene early in the movie where one of the characters is like, autism actually isn't a mental illness. It's the next step of evolution for humankind.
Yeah, that was bizarre. That was a bizarre story direction.
It's bad autistic rep. It's not. I mean, it's bad Darwinian rep. That's not how evolution works.
And it's just not a good setup for a Predator movie.
No,
either.
It's a really bad setup for a Predator movie. It feels like at some point autism is used for two things in Hollywood movies. It's either when they need a character to know a lot about a niche subject for no particular reason, or when a character is really good at chess. Those are the two things that autism means to film producers. And this movie is the prime example of how terrible, terrible, terrible that is.
Yeah, this movie, it really breaks my heart for me to put this. I put this at the bottom of the D tier.
Really?
I don't like this movie. Yeah. There's some entertainment value, which is why it's not an F tier, but Shane Black is so much better than this, especially his previous involvement with the Predator, his other scripts, his other movies as well. Like, I love The Nice Guys.
Right.
He wrote the Lethal Weapon movies, which I think are pretty good, and I think are well written as well. But it's just, you give him the Predator, and that should be like great. This should be one of the best of the franchise. And to me, of the mainline Predator movies, it's probably like, save for AVP Requiem, I think it's the worst.
Yeah, no, this is the worst of the mainline. For sure. This is F tier for me.
And the more I think about it, like, time has not been kind to it. And the more I think about it, the less I like it.
Time will never be kind to this movie, I don't think. Unless it turns out that they were right and autistic people are the next step of evolution, which is not how any of these things work. Then this movie is going to suck, and it sucks forever, and I hate it. It's F tier. The only thing keeping it above Aliens vs. Predator Requiem is Keegan-Michael Key. That's it. Yeah. He's the only funny one.
Yeah.
And this movie's trying to be so funny. It's like an MCU level script is on this movie, and it doesn't work.
It's really bad. It's so disappointing and disheartening, but a little bit of entertainment with that. A little bit.
It's just, there's no entertainment here that I couldn't get by just watching Key and Peele sketches. Yeah. That's it. That's all I really need.
Yeah. Thankfully, the next three that we talk about, I'll just say, are ones that I feel like I feel like we have a lot more positive things to say about it.
I hope so.
And the first one, the kind of revitalization of the Predator franchise with Prey.
Yeah.
And I'll cut right to the chase. I love this movie.
I like Prey.
When they first announced it, like they're like, "Oh, we're doing another Predator movie with Dan Trachtenberg, the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane." I'm like, I really like 10 Cloverfield Lane, but if Shane Black couldn't do it, then I don't think he can either. Like I was just like really skeptical. And, you know, them putting it straight to Hulu didn't really give me a whole lot of faith in it, which I feel like 20th Century Studios deeply regretted that. And I feel like with Predator Badlands coming out later this year, they're going to definitely put that in theaters.
Predator has not had a theatrical release since 2017 or 2018 with the Predator.
Yeah, thankfully it's coming back to theaters this year. But with Prey, like, I feel like most franchises should have a movie like Prey, to where it doesn't rehash what comes before, but it gets things back to basics. And it gets things back to, like, it sets it in the past in a new time, to where like this girl in the tribe is essentially one hunting a predator, and since she's at a technological disadvantage, the predator is also at a technological disadvantage because it's set in like the 1700s. That I think is really interesting. I love the predator design in this movie. I love the main character of Amber Midthunder. I thought she was really interesting. And another one to where just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like obviously like she and Arnold Schwarzenegger do different characters. Like she doesn't beat the Predator because she's like really like she could be in an arm wrestling match,
right?
But because she's smart, she knows how to outsmart the Predator and defeat it.
And so this movie takes place in a Native American tribe where they do this thing where when you become a certain age and you want to be christened as a hunter, you go out and hunt like the biggest thing you can think of. So like they're out hunting like bears and cougars and stuff.
Yeah.
And this the main character played by Amber Midthunder is hunting the predator because she had a fateful run-in with the predator while trying to hunt down a deer.
Yeah, and there's also the scene where like the bear is trying to come after her.
Yeah.
And it like dies, and you see the predator of Invisible living it up with the blood on it. Great scene. Ugh. Like Dan Trachtenberg, like if you watch 10 Cloverfield Lane, like Dan Trachtenberg is great with that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it's just like a great story at its core, like not rehashing the original like Predators did in a sense, but telling a new story while also kind of setting it back to what the franchise at its core really, really is about someone who in and of himself is a predator themselves, but hunting an actual predator and what would that look like.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, it's interesting because it's like the first movie was so macho and manly about it, but this movie it subverts that almost because the macho and manly people are the people who are hunting like the bears and the cougars that want to stop Amber Midthunder from being a hunter because she sucks at it, and no need to sugarcoat it, she's bad at hunting. That's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who don't get the predator, and Amber Midthunder does. And it's a really, really good movie.
Yeah, I really like it. As to what, like, I put this in the A tier.
Yeah.
The only thing that really holds it back from being S tier, one, because of how great the other three are, but two, since it's set in the past, some of the modern English usages was a little bit distracting for me.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's like when they do Shakespeare in modern times or in like Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm allowing it because it helps me understand the vibe that they're going for.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them playing Jay-Z in a Great Gatsby remake because that's the modern equivalent of what they were playing at those parties.
Yeah. I guess for me, like some of that kind of holds it back a little bit, and like some parts of the story I don't like of memory, like they're not parts that I think are super memorable, but like one at its core that I feel like this is a great entry to the franchise.
Yeah, I agree.
And one that like Dan Trachtenberg, like he also did another movie on this list that we'll get to. But yeah, I feel like he's one of the heart and soul of the Predator franchise going forward after watching this.
Dan Trachtenberg was basically given the keys to the kingdom after this movie. He is directing and writing every other movie after this. And he did one this year. He's doing a second one this year. And whenever the press asks about what's next for the Predator franchise, they're always, what's Dan planning, you know?
Yeah.
And I totally think that should be a thing. He totally should get that recognition. I also put Prey in the A tier. It's one below Predator.
Yeah, I think it's great. Definitely a welcome return to the franchise. And one where before this movie came out, we've said Predator is the only great one, but this movie came out and it was also great. So I was really happy with this one. And I'm sure 20th Century Studios was kicking themselves, saying that they could have made a lot more money with this one. Thankfully, they learned their lesson and they put Predator. They're putting Predator Badlands in theaters.
Yeah, and I mean, Prey, and I mentioned this in my Letterboxd review, is that Prey is the second good Predator movie, which is wild to think about.
Yeah.
Because of the cultural impact that Predator has had. They have not had any good movies. Like, there are very few good Predator movies.
I mean, for me, I like Predators, but I know a lot of people don't. But for this movie, of all these we've talked about, I think it's easily the best since the first one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And then not too long after, I guess August of last year, as of time of recording, we get Fede Alvarez entering the Alien franchise with Alien Romulus.
Yeah, and Fede Alvarez did his Evil Dead.
Yeah, the Evil Dead 2013.
movies.
He also did Don't Breathe, which is a movie that I really like. And when I heard that Fede Alvarez was doing Alien, I was like, oh, yeah, he's going to do something great. And leading up to this movie, even Ridley Scott, who was critical of like almost every movie, like he's a guy who called Top Gun Maverick mid and someone who hated Blade Runner 2049.
Well,
even though he was involved.
He made Blade Runner, so I don't blame him.
Yeah, and also he's someone who watched Top Gun Maverick and said, eh. And he walked out of Alien Romulus, he's like, this movie's great. Yeah. And that had me really excited that this was going to be a great entry. And fortunately for me, it was.
One of the things I love about the first Alien is the environment work that they do. There are like so many shots of like hallways and like electronics booting up. And there's one where it's like in the reflection of the helmet. That's like one of the classic shots from that movie.
Yeah.
And I saw the trailers for this movie and it seemed like that's exactly what Fede Alvarez was doing. There was a trailer spot I watched in front of Deadpool and Wolverine that was literally just them slowly pulling out of a hallway while the credits were on screen. And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good. That's how I knew that was going to be a really good movie, and it was a really good movie.
Yeah, and just like with Prey, like I'll come right to the gist again. Like I love this one too. I think Fede Alvarez was probably another one, a perfect pick to direct a new Alien movie.
Yeah,
like someone like if you're thinking about someone again going back to basics and bringing the horror back to this franchise, I feel like it really missed with some of the previous movies. And not only that, but also kind of adds in a couple new things. Like the characters this time around I think are really interesting. Like the standout in particular was Andy, who is the new android, who starts off as like really timid, gets the new card and becomes totally serious.
Right.
I actually loved the ties to the first Alien, where you had the android from the first movie still on the table because they go back to the old ship. VFX a little spotty, but honestly I could get past it.
And also I don't think they go back to the old ship because they're pretty clear in the opening that the Nostromo was destroyed at this point. So he's just there for some reason. The actor Ian Holm, who played Ash in the first Alien movie, is dead, and so they brought him back using AI, which they're pretty open about, and you can tell. Like it sucks that you can tell, but you can tell, and it makes it look not good.
Yeah, but I feel like for the story, I think they brought back his character in a way that made sense.
Yeah, although I feel like they could have just used anybody. It didn't have to be him. And the fact that they decided to make it look ugly while also like...
Yeah, I mean, his wife gave approval. His family was very supportive of it.
Yeah, and I mean, good for them. I'm not upset at them for wanting Ian Holm to be in more stuff. It's fine. It's just for a franchise about being so... how bad being so laissez-faire with human life is. Yeah. It's a little ironic.
But yeah, overall, I thought this movie was a great entry into the Alien franchise. And just like with Price being the best since the original in that franchise, I feel like this is the best Alien movie since Alien and Aliens. Right. A lot of great stuff. Like the Zero-G sequence was great. Yeah. Like Kaylee Spaney, of course, like obviously stepping in as like the new Ripley-ish, but also not being the new Ripley in a sense. She's I feel like her different. Like the character of Rain. I feel like her relationship with Andy, I think, is really interesting. And you also get like the British guy.
The British guy.
And like seeing practical effects for the xenomorphs and the face huggers and all that was just really welcome to see. There's even like some uses like they play around with the temperature to where it's like they enter a room and they have to turn the temperature down so that the face huggers
they turn it up.
They turn it up. Yeah,
and it leads to this scene where they're all sneaking around and they're all sweaty as hell. Yeah. And it's like Fede Alvarez has an eye for that kind of thing. I'm just like, this is the vibe we want you to be in. And the characters are in that vibe too. Yeah, and much with every other movie on this list that uses a hybrid character, the third act of this movie, I saw the hybrid and I was like, I actually really like how this is turning out. Like, I thought I was going to hate it when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, so this is the movie's big swing. Right. And I know some people weren't crazy about the hybrid. I thought it was a really effective way to, I guess, try something new. And of course, Fede Alvarez is obviously going to add that in somehow.
And obviously, like, mixing it in with, like, a human baby, I thought it was really interesting.
I appreciate that they did it practically. That's what I'll say about that. I didn't really appreciate the hybrid. It's called the offspring in the movie. I didn't really appreciate it as much as maybe I had hoped. It felt a little bit of a cop-out for the final act of the movie. Like, we're not going to try to do anything new with the characters that we already had. We're just going to try to do this entirely new thing. It doesn't feel like an Alien movie for the last bit of it.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting way, and honestly, I'm actually interested to see how they do a follow up. Which the sequel to this movie actually starts filming later this year with Fede Alvarez returning.
Fede Alvarez is directing a sequel.
Yeah, I would be down to see what happens. This movie does take place between Alien and Aliens, which is actually really interesting.
Yeah, so actually we see in Alien Romulus, the Kaylee Spaney character Rain, she lives in the colony that is destroyed, like that we see is destroyed in Aliens.
Yeah.
Like we see it in its disheveled state. She lives there. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. I think this is a really nice addition to the franchise. I have this in A tier as well, below Prey. The only thing that really holds it back is that even though it does go back to basics, I think at times it's a little too derivative.
I totally agree.
Of the original Alien. It's a great version of it. Loved seeing practical effects. Great. I actually really like a lot of the characters. There's a lot in this movie I loved, but like on a story level, yeah, it's a little derivative of the first two. But seeing this in theaters, like thank God they put this in theaters.
Yeah.
And like especially like I saw this in a Dolby Cinema, and my God,
man.
some of the sound, like surround sound.
I was so surprised this didn't get nominated for Best Sound. This is a really, really good sound design in this movie. And it got nominated for a VFX, which I don't think it deserves.
Yeah.
David Johnson, who plays Andy, is really good. It's a really big swing after.
Great character too.
Because Andy is autism coded in this movie, which is a big swing to take after The Predator.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't understand jokes, but he tells them because he knows that they make Rain happier. Like when he tells the jokes.
Yeah. To where it's like he starts off timid, but he also can play a side that's like super serious, and it's like. And it's like when Isabella Merced's character is killed, he's like, if we opened the door, he would have killed, the alien would have killed us all, which he's right.
Right. This is an acting tour de force for David Johnson, who's going to be in a Stephen King adaptation of The Long Walk.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Soon enough. He's a really good actor.
Yeah,
I really like him.
Yeah, just like Prey revitalized the Predator franchise, I feel like this movie revitalizes the Alien franchise. Well, not as much as Prey, but I feel like this is a movie that's very solid, and I can't wait to see what else comes from this franchise.
Yeah, and now they're back in the popular conscious. They took a little bit of a break. Like Predator obviously hadn't been relevant forever. Even the AVP movies probably didn't do it a whole lot of good. But like late 90s, early 2000s, we weren't getting a whole lot. And now I feel like we're really back. We're in a new era. Led by, it seems, Fede Alvarez and Dan Trachtenberg. So, yeah, no, this is pretty exciting. But there is one last movie.
Yeah, there's one last movie, and this one, I think, 2-3 days ago it came out as of recording?
Yeah.
They came out the 6th or something?
The 6th, yeah.
Yeah, on Hulu, and that's a Predator Killer of Killers, an animated anthology series.
I'm super upset that this didn't get into theaters, because this is a really good movie.
Yeah, this is again, like, but cutting right to the chase, like I love this movie again. Like I thought this movie was great. I will say this though, when I first started watching this, and I watched this yesterday as of recording, it's the anthology series where it shows 3 different stories where the Predator takes on a Viking, it takes on a samurai, which I kind of hinted at that, like I said earlier, with Predators. Really glad we got to see that. And also a World War II pilot. Yeah. And those stories I thought were pretty interesting. Of them, I actually thought the third one was the most interesting. Yeah. Just because,
he becomes the main character of the third one.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the movie.
If it was just those 3 stories, I would have had this a little bit lower than where I place it. But you get to a point where they start to converge. This movie becomes so good out of nowhere and becomes probably one of my favorite stories of this whole franchise, to where everything that comes before matters, where at first I didn't think it did. To where the Viking, they give so much character development with these 3 characters in just like 30 minutes of storytelling. Right. To where the Viking had a thing with her grandson, and also trying to train her grandfather, and try to train something with her son. And then you have the samurai had the rapport with his brother and the samurai armor. And then you have the World War II pilot whose father was a mechanic, and then he had the mentor who he flies up to try to get the Predator. And so much of that, it's done so well, but so simple at the same time. Yeah. And when you see it all start to converge in the last like 30 minutes, it's done so well and ended in a place not just where I want to see the story continue, but also for the Predator franchise. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, the samurai characters are given more emotional depth, in my opinion, than every character in the Predator combined, and they have 5 lines of dialogue.
Yeah,
which is wow. It's super impressive. Dan Trachtenberg is really that guy.
Yeah, this movie is again also directed by Dan Trachtenberg.
Yes, and this it also has some pretty direct ties to Prey.
Yeah, especially with the way it wraps up too. That the girl from Prey is in a cryo chamber.
Right. So we mentioned in the Predator how they don't typically take captives or like trophies. This movie reveals that they do, and they have taken captives. Like they have like a freezer where they have like 100 of them, including what looked like a xenomorph when I saw it the first time.
I thought it was that too.
Fairly sure there was a xenomorph back there. So that's
yeah,
that's
and then,
something.
And then the girl from Prey. I jumped up out of my seat when I saw that.
The girl from Prey is there. The Viking that survives, the samurai that survives, and the World War II pilot that survives, they all get put into this ring, and they're each given weapons to kill each other with, so that the big predator can kill them and become the killer of killers.
Yeah, that's the title of the movie.
Right. And the World War II pilot is actually given one of the guns that the colonizers use in Prey.
Yeah, I know. Even he says, like, this isn't from my time period.
Right, and you can very clearly see the inscription says, like, 1715.
When I first saw that, I was like, are they going to tie something to Prey? And the movie ends to where the Viking character sacrifices herself so that the samurai who loses his arm and the pilot fly away, and they have the predators chase after them, which ends up, I guess, they're probably hopefully going to do more with that. And then they showed that the girl from Prey is in a cryo chamber. And that whole thing, I was like, wow, they're really tying this franchise together.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved that. And I feel like this is how you do an anthology series, right?
Yeah.
Like you show, like you do different things with the Predator where you finally see, like for me, I've always wanted to see the Predator go up against a samurai. And you see that. Not only that, but you get to see 2 samurais go against a Predator. And you get a Viking, you get a World War II pilot who also kind of has a backstory in of himself.
Right.
And again, all 3 of them, just like before, they don't win because they're strong. They win because they outsmart them.
Yeah, and thematically, this is the most interesting Predator movie.
Yeah.
It has so much to say about like how amazing humans are, and because like the Predators, they see everything as binary, and as I mentioned, the Predator sees things in terms of hot and cold.
Yeah.
I don't think the heat vision is ever used in Prey. Once, like,
well, I think because like the technology the Predator has is a little bit less advanced,
and I mean, regardless, it's used in this movie, and no, that's not possible because it's used in the Viking segment, which takes place before Prey.
Yeah, so, it's used in I think all 3 segments.
It's used in all 3 segments, but it tells something interesting. It tells some sort of story about like humans and how not binary we are.
Yeah, I loved how it was used in the pilot segment too, where he flies up to the atmosphere and he turns the plane off so he's not
cold, there. And they're like looking at the plane. That's
how would you rank the 3 like Smitty segments?
I think the samurai one goes on top.
Yeah.
Then the World War II pilot, then the Viking. I think the Viking character gets a lot better when they all converge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of character growth there. I really like how they do the Viking one when they converge. But its own story is not.
Yeah, all three of them were just great.
I agree.
Had it just been those 3 stories, like where I ranked this, it would have been actually quite a bit lower.
Really,
it's good. Like they were really good in my mind. But like if it had just wrapped it down, like okay, this is interesting, but like like it was just like 3 stories that are kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What they do, like thematically, how they wrap up the story, and especially as an entry in the Predator franchise. Like I absolutely loved where it went and actually elevated those 3 segments to where not only were they just interesting, but they matter, and all 3 of them come to a converge where all 3 characters are like working side by side.
Yeah.
So I actually not only would put this in the A tier, but I think it's the top of the A tier. What holds it back for me from the S tier is that some of it, because it's animated, gets a little bit too cartoony, and in a franchise that's mainly live action, especially like when you have like the big bulking predators, where in the other ones they're kind of like high level. I feel like that's where it kind of holds me back a little bit. But otherwise, like this is a very good entry, and like these previous 3 movies in the franchises, I just think I love this new era.
Yeah, so I disagree. It's not S tier for me.
I have an A tier.
Yeah, I have an A tier also.
Yeah.
I don't think it's held back by the fact that it's an animation, because every time I blinked, someone was losing a limb.
Yeah.
Which is it's insane. There's a scene in the Viking segment where the main Viking woman, like chief, is fighting with 2 broken shields, and she's like cutting people's heads off with the shield.
Yeah, like the animation, the animation style here is gorgeous. I just feel like some of it gets a little bit too cartoony, especially like when you have like the big hulking predator in the arena, and then the actual predators themselves are like twice the size of them, which I wish like in a franchise that's live action, that's not really the case. So that kind of pulled me back just a little bit, but otherwise, like I think this movie is very good.
Yeah, I have to disagree there, but generally I think pretty similar opinions. This is my favorite franchise, my favorite movie in the Predator series.
Really? You like it more than the
This
original?
is my favorite Predator movie.
Wow.
This is really just masterclass. It's not often that a director can jump mediums so flawlessly. That doesn't happen that often. Like Zack Snyder did like Legend of the Guardians, which was not received as well as his live action stuff.
Yeah.
Even though his live action stuff wasn't received very well. I just love this movie. It's really, really, really good.
It's great, especially like the last 30 minutes were like some of the best of the whole franchise, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, and I mean like, action is not my genre, in the sense that like,
I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah,
just saying, I'm the complete opposite.
Action is not my genre in the sense that a movie doesn't grab me by being action, because I find it very difficult to separate myself from the movie and enjoy the spectacle of it. I'm always thinking, which is a problem when you're trying to enjoy an action sequence that doesn't necessarily carry with it that much meaning, you know?
Yeah.
This movie grabbed me and did not let go. This movie is so good.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. I have it at the top of the A tier.
Yeah, no, I have it. This is my number 3 for the whole.
Yeah, do you have it at the top of your A tier?
At top of my A tier, above Prey, above Predator, above Alien Romulus, above everything. The only things that it's not as good as are Alien and Aliens.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the last one. So I guess we could go through our final rankings.
Quickly recap. Go over your list.
Yeah. So I guess starting at the top, I guess in the S tier, I have do you want me to start at the top or the bottom?
Oh, it's up to you. I'll follow suit.
Here, I'll start from the bottom. So
Okay.
I guess down at the F tier, like the absolute bottom of the barrel, I have AVP Requiem at the bottom, along with Alien 3, both movies that I just think are not very good, like really not good, and both movies kind of offensive to me.
Yeah.
And then at the D tier, movies that really are not good either, but have some mild entertainment and so bad it's good to them. I have The Predator following, and as well as Alien Resurrection, kind of in that order.
Yeah.
And then jumping up to C tier, these are movies that like I don't think are great, but they're movies that like I don't love, don't hate. They're just kind of there for me.
Yeah.
I have Predator 2, which tried some new things that didn't really work, and then Prometheus and Alien Covenant. I guess in that order, to where I don't know. Classic example, the prequel problem had some things that I thought were interesting, but also had a lot of things that really frustrated me as well. And then jumping up to the B tier, these are movies that like I think are good, but I don't think reach the heights of the best of the franchise. I have AVP, just a really schlocky, fun movie, and the ultimate guilty pleasure for me. And then Predator is a movie that I actually defend, plays it safe, but I actually think it's kind of fun. And then pretty big gap, I would say, from Predators to my next one.
Yeah.
In the A tier, bottom of the A tier, but no means a bad film whatsoever. I have Alien Romulus, a movie that I actually quite enjoyed. And then followed by Prey, great entry back from Dan Trachtenberg. And speaking of Dan Trachtenberg recently, Predator Killer of Killers just took me by absolute surprise. And I was even excited for this one when I first saw the trailer, but after watching it, it just absolutely delivered on the aspects that it needed to. And finally, I got to see a Predator fight a samurai, which I was really happy with. And then jumping up to S tier, the best of the best, I have Ridley Scott's original Alien, obviously one of the great sci-fi horror films of all time. Then jumping to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator, just great sci-fi horror action, very macho, probably the most manly movie of all time, if you ask me. And then my favorite being Aliens. This is the first one that I remember. This is the first one of all of these that I watched, and probably the one out of all of these that I've watched the most. I've seen it 3 times.
So what's a better franchise, do you think? Like, who wins Alien versus Predator? Alien is a better franchise, or is Predator the better franchise?
I have a feeling that, because in my S and A tier, I have 3 from each. Yeah, but I feel like as a franchise, I've enjoyed Alien slightly more. Yeah. Just because I think I've been more invested in those storylines, where I think Predator, say even until recently, has been very disjointed. Maybe the future will change if Dan Trachtenberg really continues what he's doing. Right. At the same time, Fede Alvarez continues what he's doing with the Alien Romulus, and Noah Hawley does a great job with the Alien Earth TV show.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the Predator franchise has a brighter future.
Yeah.
Like Dan Trachtenberg, I feel like I trust him a little bit more. Just he's all hits, no misses.
Yeah, I feel like for me, Predator Killer of Killers is making me even more excited for Predator Badlands.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I can't wait to see Alien Earth. Noah Hawley, I think I trust him as a visionary.
Yeah.
And the trailer for it, I thought it looked really cool. I think won me over on some aspects that I really didn't think it would.
Actually, same, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously when you have Timothy Olyphant on a show, you have my attention.
Right.
Especially after watching Justified, which is one of my top 5 favorite shows of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for the future of these 2 franchises, and I feel like it's good that we did this tier list because I feel like now that we're in this new era, it's kind of interesting to look back on the old franchises. So I guess you should probably share yours.
Yeah. So to quickly touch on mine, in the F tier, movies I think have almost no good things about them. AVP, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, which is the full unabridged title. It sucks. Even the title's bad.
Yeah.
And then The Predator, which I don't like. D tier, which is basically just Alien Resurrections, a movie One Resurrection. It's a movie that I don't like, and that I just think it has some better things to it than the ones in F tier.
Yeah.
C tier, which is typically movies that I respect more than I actually like. Predator 2, which actually is the movie that solidified Bill Paxton as the only person to be killed by a Terminator, Alien, and Predator.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting to me.
I mean, he was the unsung hero of the 80s action movie.
Yeah.
AVP, Alien vs. Predator. Again, I appreciate how deep it goes. Like, it didn't need to go that deep. But you can put a watch to it. Alien 3, again, I appreciate how they went about it, but I don't like the movie. The B tier for movies that I think are good but have a ways to go. Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
The A tier for movies that I really like is Alien Romulus, Prey, the first Predator, and then really teetering on the edge of S tier. Like, as we were recording this, I was kind of thinking I might put it in S tier, but I think it's going to stay in A tier for now, is Predator Killer of Killers, which I really loved. And then S tier, the best of the best, is just Alien and Aliens. I don't think that any other.
Yeah, which order do you have those two in?
Aliens is number 1, and then Alien is number 2. So just we talked about some of the future projects over the course of the episode. I mean, Predator Badlands, Alien Earth, and the Alien Romulus sequel.
Yeah, those are the only 3 that are confirmed to be in development. Apparently, there's a Prey 2, but I don't really know what's going on with that.
They asked Amber Midthunder about it, and she said that it's not it's not in the works. But if it was, then she wouldn't be surprised, and also that she would trust Dan Trachtenberg to do it.
And Dan Trachtenberg did say that he wouldn't be involved with it if they did do a Prey 2.
Right.
So I guess that one's not, but I guess the 3 that are coming up, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we got the trailer for Alien Earth because I think that show looks really cool. And Predator Badlands, I thought it looked great as well. Making the Predator protagonist is something that I think is finally in a franchise.
Yeah.
That works. If they made the Xenomorph a protagonist, that just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But making the Predator protagonist, I'm like, that's interesting. And then seeing Elle Fanning's character have the Weyland-Yutani logo, kind of tying back to Alien. And even having the Independence Day creature skull.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the Independence Day franchise will be a part of this one day.
What do you hope? I think we can both say that we hope in the future they do an Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, I hope they eventually they trust Dan Trachtenberg and Fede Alvarez, who are 2 friends in real life, to co-direct an Alien versus Predator movie released theatrically.
Yeah.
Have Fede Alvarez handle the Alien stuff, and then have Dan Trachtenberg handle the Predator stuff, to where they both get credit for it, and they both handle those sequences, to where both sides, since they're both, in a sense, the new creative visions, I guess, for those 2, because I think Alien Earth was announced before Alien Romulus.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it sounds about right.
I think, yeah. If I were to guess, because Alien Earth was in development for a long time.
Yeah.
So I guess as the 2 creating forces, I would just love to see that. And I do hope that they try new things, especially with the Alien franchise. I hope they go to more grander. I hope they go to more unique planets. It seems like they're doing that with Predator as well. But I feel like with Alien, I think it's interesting to see a little bit of their culture and their civilization.
Yeah. I agree. I totally think that this new era of Alien Predator can go really, really far. And I really hope, because we both had Predator Badlands on our most anticipated, but then Predator Killer of Killers comes out of nowhere and one-ups Prey, and is like one of our favorite Predator movies, like as a whole. And it's what is happening? You know?
Really surprised. Like when I heard it was an anthology, and they confirmed in the solid trailer that it was an anthology, and that the Predator was going to be fighting different stuff, I was like, okay, that looks like something that's going to be for me. And I watched it, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And then it's just like as it goes on, I'm like, wow, like this is how you do an anthology series, right?
Really, I feel like Dan Trachtenberg is perfect until proven imperfect. I haven't seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, heard good things, but both of the Predator movies you've done have been absolute bangers. So I'm super excited to see what happens next year.
I am too. With both franchises, I'm really excited to see the future of both.
Yeah. So that was the Alien versus Predator tier list. If you want to see us do Alien Earth and Predator Badlands when that comes out as like its own separate episode, let us know. We might do it.
Yeah, maybe we would. Because, Predator Badlands, I think it comes out in November. So
and Alien Earth, an 8-episode TV series. We haven't done a TV series on the show yet, but if you want to see us do it, hit us up in the comments.
Yeah, and I guess that wraps up this episode. This episode of the Post Credits podcast.
Yep, that's we'll hopefully have more soon on the way, and it won't take 3 months for us to do one episode.
Yeah.
With that all said and done, roll credits.
Yeah, stay tuned.